Hello and welcome to the Wolfenaars Show, where I read articles from the wolfenaars.com website and you listen to them. Today I've got quite an interesting tale for you about a chimpanzee. Going through the website, there are several articles about chimps, which is troubling, but we'll talk to the editor about that and sort of get to the bottom of it. If you enjoy our content, like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you think about the stories. Tell us about stories you would like to hear. And if you have a favorite article from the website, you can also tell us you would like us to do an episode about that. The link to the website will be down in the comments. And let's get right into it. The story of Nim Chimpsky, more human than chimp. There used to be a time when exotic pets were all the rage in the USA. That time is right now, but was also before. Movies and TV were full of people that owned or were just friends with creatures that wouldn't hesitate to rip your face off. Millions of people rushed to buy the various monkeys, apes, big cats, wolves, and bears that they had seen on TV. All of them hoping to form the sort of magical connection only seen on screen. These people either end up learning that the wild in wild animals mean what the wild in wild animals means the hard way once the animals become too mature to handle. Or they don't. Why is it either? I don't know. Mr. Editor. This obviously bled into the scientific community, where many nerds have the dream of claiming the title of Beastmaster. Nim Chimpsky is the result of a team of psychologists from Columbia University's attempt to disprove Nim Chimpsky's thesis that only humans have language. That is clearly not the case, but you were laboring in the past. And now we know that at least dolphins and whales do have language. We just can't speak it. Project Washoe, Nim's predecessor. Washoe was a female common chimpanzee born in West Africa in 1965. She was captured for use by the US Air Force as a part of the US space program. Her life as a test subject began in 1967 when Washoe was just 2 years old. She was the focus of Alan Gardner and Beatrix Gardner's project at the University of Nevada, Reno. They would raise her in an environment as close to that of a human child would have and attempt to teach her American Sign Language. Much like Nim would follow Washoe, she herself was a follow-up project from the earlier Project Vicky. These earlier attempts at teaching human language to chimpanzees had failed due to a lack of the physical characteristics required to produce voiced sounds, according to Gardner's thesis. Washoe had her own trailer outfitted with everything a person would need: a couch, a refrigerator, a bed, and clean sheets, clothes, a toothbrush, and a comb, because chimps love combs. She would often wear clothes and eat dinner at the table with her human parents. Washoe was able to pick up around 350 words of sign language. She and her mates were able to construct phrases that indicated things that they didn't know the words for. The team found confirmation of Washoe's ability for deep emotional thought after one of her caretakers missed work for several weeks following a miscarriage. When the caretaker returned, Washoe gave her the cold shoulder as a sign that she was unhappy. The caretaker signed to Washoe, "My baby died," after which Washoe looked down for a while before signing the word cry. Habitual observers of animals will know that most animals have some kind of internal emotional process. The concept that only humans experience the world through an emotional lens is reductionist and short-sighted. Washoe died at the age of 42 on the 30th of October 2007. Nim's life as a project. Primates living out their entire existence as the subjects of human experimentation is nothing new. Comparatively, Nim and Washoe had a pretty good deal when you consider the millions of primates still being kept caged in laboratories with makeup and diseases pumped into their bodies regularly. Nim was raised in similar conditions to Washoe. Project Nim was an attempt at furthering the success of Project Washoe. Herbert Terrace, professor of psychology at Columbia University, organized the circumstances of Nim's life. He, Nim, would be raised as a part of a human family in an attempt to endow him with a natural sense of human communication. Nim was the product of a chimpanzee mill at a primate research center in Norman, Oklahoma. His mother was used as a baby factory, and every baby born to her was taken from her to be used for research. Man, this article is dark. Nim was adopted by Stephanie Lafarge, a former student of Herbert Terrace, who lived in an apartment with her new family. The chimpanzee was treated as a part of their family, dressed in human clothes and eating what the family ate. According to interviews with Lafarge's family done for the documentary Project Nim, none of the family members were fluent in sign language. That may actually have been an oversight, maybe even gross negligence. Nim's education only started after he spent 3 months living with his human family. This delay and the rapid development of baby chimps combined and led to Nim's limited vocabulary. Nim was taken from Stephanie's care after Terrace hired a student, Laura Ann Petito, with whom he had a romantic relationship at the time. Man, this guy sounds like just the best at science. The chimp and his teachers were set up in a mansion owned by the university, and his sign language training started in earnest. During this period, it is said that Nim's vocabulary expanded to around 120 signs. Skeptics claimed that Nim was merely imitating communication and not actually showing any understanding of what he was signing. How do you prove that? That seems harder to prove than to disprove that Nim actually knew 120 signs. During this time, Nim grew strong and aggressive, as is the purview of young male chimpanzees. He often attacked his caretakers, leaving them with severe bites that would require the hospitalization of at least one researcher. Chimps in the wild also display these aggressive outbursts during adolescence, but their fellow chimps have the strength and thickness of skin to survive such assaults with little damage. Humans are much softer and weaker animals. Yeah, don't get a chimp. Why would you have something that could literally rip your arms off and beat you to death with the stumps? Just doesn't make sense to me. Following a fallout between Terrace and Petito, the latter was dismissed as Nim's teacher. She was replaced by Joyce Butler, who would oversee Nim's tutelage for the remainder of the project. Terrace decided to end the project soon after the switch was made, claiming that they had collected enough data. Nim would be sent back to the Primate Research Center from whence he came. This is all the more tragic if you consider the fact that Nim thought of himself as human. When given the task of sorting photos of humans and chimpanzees, Nim would put his own picture on the human pile. He was cruelly abandoned by all of his caretakers and would later die at only 26 years of age. That is very sad. A quotable chimpanzee. Nim continued learning sign language after being abandoned at the Primate Research Center. Most notably, he learned to say, "Stone smoke time now," when he wanted marijuana. That's right, in the time-honored tradition of irresponsible animal owners, the caretakers at the center would get the apes stoned. Somebody call Terence McKenna. If you're wondering, Terence McKenna is a researcher into psychedelics, and he came up with the stoned ape theory, which is sort of an explanation for how humans went from regular apes to actually thinking big thoughts. Perhaps they could see how depressed Nim became after his one and only visit from Herbert Terrace, Father of the Year. Falling into a malaise and refusing food for days after seeing his one-time experimenter, Nim likely thought that Terrace had come to liberate him from what Terrace himself described as a surprisingly more primitive facility than he remembered. The chimpanzee would later be featured in the magazine High Times. The original article has unsurprisingly been lost to time, because stoners. Nim was sold to the Laboratory for Experimental Medicine and Surgery in Primates, where he spent most of his time highly sedated and being injected with various chemicals. The scientists working at LEMSIP would regularly see Nim signing for hugs and play during his time there. Later, Nim would be rescued from the lab by the Black Beauty Ranch, operated by the Cleveland Amory Group operating out of Texas. The Cleveland Amory Group operating out of Texas. Now, I'm not an expert on American geography, but Cleveland and Texas are not the same thing, right? If they are, just comment down below. Correct me. or support me. Do what you want, but comment that you are doing what you want. Comment what you are doing right now and how that is what you are doing because you want to do that and fulfilling your life goals by doing that. Nim lived a mostly isolated life at the ranch. He became violent on several occasions and would throw TVs, and is noted to have killed one dog. Why did they give him a dog? I don't think chimps and dogs get along. I'm just reading. His behavior improved a bit after he was joined by several other chimpanzees on the ranch after 10 years of living there alone. First, he lived with a human family, then in a facility where he was swapped around like a hot potato. Then he was abandoned at a research center that got him stoned all the time. Then drugs and surgeries were tested on him, and then he lived on a ranch for 10 years alone. Okay, now I'm understanding why he took his anger out on the TVs and the dog. Nim Chimpsky's life of tragedy ended on the 10th of March in the year 2000. So even Washo outlived him, and she started much earlier. Nah, this is upsetting. Nim's life was turned into a documentary by award-winning filmmaker James Marsh. The documentary is called Project Nim and includes several interviews with the researchers involved in Nim's life. Nim Chimpsky's life was deemed a failure by Herbert Terrace, who, despite early optimism, considered the experiment a total failure. He outlived his failure and continues to work at the University of Columbia in New York. If he is your psychologist, I would suggest getting a new one, but don't tell him I said that, because I don't want Herbert Terrace coming for me and trying to teach me sign language and then, abandoning me at a research facility. Well, I'm sorry if that story upset you, but let me know if you've got any good stories about chimpanzees. Pop them in the comments, pop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you can like, comment, subscribe. I've been saying comment a lot. I'm gonna stop saying that word now. Share the Wolf and Our Show with anyone that you think would be interested. Every little bit that you do helps us out a lot. As you know, the algorithm is a fickle mistress, and any sort of interaction with the video helps. If you like that, if you want to read more of our articles, you can see the link down below to our website, and I'll see you here next week again. Bye.